Hibbing ISD 701, Public Schools, December 7th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time in our boardroom. That being said, we'll go to item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you wish. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. And with that, we'll go to item 3, motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director McLaughlin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. We'll go to item 4, motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Director Nyberg, supported by Director Polter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. With that, we'll go to item 5, public comment. I see none. So with that, we'll move to item 6. I'll turn it over to the superintendent and Rick, and there are going to be some speakers coming up. If you would you please go to the podium when it's your turn, and the camera will turn on you that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're very fortunate tonight. We have Commissioner Mike Jugovich that is here with us, and the county has been very supportive of the Hibbing schools recently, and I shouldn't say recently, that sounds lousy, Mike, I'm sorry. But it might have something to do with you being our commissioner, so we really appreciate that. But please give us a little update on some of the great things you've done lately.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity today. Just a couple of things I want to touch base on. One, we're really pleased to be involved in your projects that we're doing over the last number of months. I know St. Louis County felt very strongly about making sure that we can do our part to help our schools, and what a beautiful building. What a beautiful building. You know, I haven't been in here in many years. I've been in the auditorium, but in the school itself, and I had a tour. It is truly something that everyone needs to see when they come into Hibbing, because it is a gem. It really is. But I just want to give an update on our consolidation taconite nickel that is going to be going into a fund. St. Louis County has done a resolution. We are supportive of this. We believe in it. We know that these schools need money. We have all kinds of needs, but really we feel that there's a couple of schools that in particular that we feel are ready to be able to get into that fund, and it's important that we do, namely Hibbing Chisholm. And what we'd like to do is just give a quick update that we are on board. Of course, it goes to the legislature, and that'll be obviously up to them, but I've spoken to the electeds, and we are all on the same page moving forward that we want to get this done. And this is something that should be done hopefully early in session. This to me is low-hanging fruit. This is something that everybody can wrap their arms around. We know that education is the basis of success, and we want nothing but success stories out of our schools, and it starts here. So just wanted to give a quick update that we are on board, and we're looking forward to hopefully getting this done sooner than later so we can come back and show projects the next time I come to visit. And I'm really excited about the fact that there's been a number of things identified, and just want to see them come to fruition. So if anybody had any questions, I just want to stop and say hello. It's good to see everybody.
I maybe just quickly, Mike. First of all, I want to personally say thank you for the American Rescue Funds, the $250,000 that the county helped. That went to some COVID expenditures that we had at the Lincoln with our bathroom remodels, air quality. It was very helpful, so thank you for that.
We appreciate everything you do. We understand that it's not easy sometimes being a board member, being a member of City Council, and we want to do everything we can to be cooperative and move forward together.
Thank you. The other question that I have is because I've heard I've heard the two schools of thought on it is with this nickel that the county is putting back into that collaborative fund at the IRRB. What I had heard was that yes, it will go to the legislature, and that could seal the deal or cement it. But what I've also heard is that that necessarily doesn't have to happen for the funds to be expended. Do you know anything about that?
I've heard the arguments, I've heard the same questions. That's something I'd like to sit down with maybe the attorney from the IRRR and have a good conversation about how it plays out. I don't want to give you an answer that turns out to be wrong.
Yes.
I will do my best to find out, and I can get hold of you, but we just want to see this happen. It's overdue here.
And for us, I mean, you know, just for the folks on camera too, our need here is we have, like you said, our beautiful building. It's a historical site. Maintenance on this historical site is very expensive. In comparison to new construction per square foot, the cost to maintain this building is astronomical in comparison to a new building, right? So I think we also know that this building is a little bit of a sacred cow, right? It's not something that we're going to tear down and build a new school.
What it would cost you to build this.
Yes. So my point is, you know, I think that fund, in a lot of ways in the past, has been tied to consolidation or collaboration. We do collaborate with a number of school districts, but my goal is to access some of those IRRB funds to maintain this site and not come to the county or the IRRB or our taxpayers in 5 or 10 years and say, our building is falling apart, I need to build a new one. I want to be able to maintain what we have for another 100 years. So I just want to say that publicly, and so people understand, because I don't know that that's necessarily what that fund was designated for, but I think it's a pretty good argument to say, why not fix what you have instead of building brand new?
And I understand it's brick and mortar, but at the end of the day, this is the castle in the woods. This is a one of a kind.
Yeah.
It'll never be duplicated. When you build new schools, you'll never see anything like this. This is a gem. This is as beautiful as they come. And we fully understand how much this means to the community and how much it means to the students. I mean, there's definitely have Blue Jacket pride behind you. I have many friends from Hibbing, and they are very, very proud of the fact that they graduated from this school and got their education in Hibbing. So we want to do everything we can to keep everything as is. When you have a beautiful facility like this, sometimes it's worth it to go the extra mile and maybe do a little bit more versus a building that is not anywhere near what you have now and have maybe some cost savings, because this is, again, never will you find anything like this anywhere. You're fortunate, and we appreciate the being good stewards of it.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank you, Commissioner Jugovich. Like, you have been amazing helping us with our projects and the entire St. Louis County Commission. And I forgot to give the board an update at the last meeting, but our Boys and Girls Club opened our site in Hibbing on November 28th. And the St. Louis County Commissioners, through the stimulus funds, helped. They were very instrumental in that, so that benefits our local students as well. But I just want to echo what Superintendent Aldrich said. You know, with our funding formula, we get the same funding that the large metro schools receive. I mean, the same formula per student. And it's really difficult because this building takes a lot to maintain. And with the current funding formula, the larger schools get wealthier and the schools with lower enrollment get poorer. So I know you're well connected, and anything you can do to help us as we move through the next legislative session.
I appreciate it. And, you know, as far as that goes, we are definitely on board with everything you do, and we understand that, you know, here, I'll go there. We get the argument all the time. Every student in the state of Minnesota, mining and timber, is about 46 and change now, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we have smaller districts. The materials come from here, and at the end of the day, some of the larger districts are taking the lion's share of those dollars. So a project that's done here with funds that come from here stay here, and that was our goal from day one. We want to make sure these funds stay here because we are shorted on that. It's true. It's true.
What's the
And
46, what do you mean 46?
every student in the state of Minnesota gets around $46 and change. It fluctuates, it changes from time to time. I think annually they go over it, but every student in the state of Minnesota. So you have districts that are receiving over $1 million in some of the districts because of the number of students.
Oh, yeah.
And we felt very strongly about the fact that if that's the case, we can't stop that. So we want to make sure some of these dollars come back. The materials, the natural resources came from here. This is a blood, sweat, and tears of people on the Iron Range. We want to make sure we get something back. We can't stop the fact that every student gets $46. We know a lot of areas don't necessarily care for mining, but they don't want to give that money back either. And we'd be glad to take it back.
You know, the other thing I want to add is, I'm optimistic with the 3 branches of state government being controlled by the same party and $17 billion in the state coffers. The one thing I feel like this board, and you guys jump in if I'm wrong, but we have invested a lot of our stimulus money in the social, emotional, and behavioral health needs of our students. And we need to make sure that we can sustain that. You know, bricks and mortar is one thing, but academics and student services, I don't want to come to have to make a decision. We've seen many of these things that have proven to be good investments of resources, and I don't want to have to pick between curriculum and student services. So, you know, depending upon what comes through the county and how the funding might flow, like the Hibbing School District, we've invested a lot in the social emotional needs of our students, and we need to continue to be able to.
Have you had good success with Check and Connect? I think overall, we've been hearing great things about it. There's a meeting Friday. We would like to see this used more of a pilot and have the state maybe pick it up, because we're seeing from our supers and our teachers and everyone that's come and talked to us that, hey, this is something that has worked really well. We can show you the data. This is why this is working. This should be something that is continued on. And we funded it for 3 years. So this is coming to a close for us, but we would definitely like to see the state pick that up.
Yes.
And as far as, $17.5 billion, last time I saw that kind of money, Polcher left his checkbook open, I saw his balance.
That's right.
Not after his kitchen remodel.
But we appreciate all you can do, and just remember us. I know it's, but
Hey, we're all in this together.
we are.
I appreciate it.
I had a question. Does the county normally give money to schools? I mean, in the past,
In
have
the
you
past-
given to other school districts?
We haven't, but since we had the COVID fund or the American Rescue Plan funds, we definitely saw that there was needs, and
Okay.
we wanted to make sure that we touched as many people as we could. And obviously, schools are critical when you're looking at helping students. So
So
we
it hasn't
decided.
been something that the county's really been into over the years, right?
No, it's not something we budgeted for, but again, when we ended up having the rescue plan,
Yeah.
it's just, we felt it was strongly about it that we make sure we help kids, because everybody on that board will tell you, in every district, how important we all feel in education is. We're cultivating, you build a house, it's only as strong as that foundation, and education is going to be the foundation moving forward.
And then my other question is, why do you have to give the money to the IRRB and then they give it to us? Why don't you just give it directly to us?
Well, that, I believe it's done in statute,
Oh,
and that becomes kind of convoluted at the same
Done a
time.
long time ago, when we first got involved with the taconite amendment and stuff like that, that's why.
everything goes through the IRRB and then,
Yeah, I believe it is in statute.
I believe it is.
oh,
So will that money, the way it's being proposed now, is that money going to be available for all districts to apply for and access?
It
Or-
will say it'll be in a fund, but we feel, and we've made our position on this very clear, just about everybody has gotten a piece of the pie. There's only a couple that really haven't. And we feel that Hibbing and Chisholm obviously are ready, they're due. And it's something that I think has not fallen on deaf ears, but I believe it goes into that fund, which becomes very general. But again, we've made our positions clear.
What is a nickel
per ton equate to over
It's over $1 million a year, I believe. It's well over $1 million a year. So it takes some time.
Some of the early projections, we thought like in a 10-year span, that it could potentially be 7 to 10 million for Chisholm, 7 to 10 million for Hibbing, so over that 10-year span, depending on, again, operations.
And again, you're looking, right now you've got North Shore down, and HIPTAC have got some difficult times ahead, and we're doing everything we can there to make sure that we don't lose that $449 million annual economic impact. So Hibbing Taconite is critical as far as this goes. Obviously jobs, everything that goes along with it. For every job at Hibbing Taconite, there's 2 service-related industry jobs. So it's not just the Hibbing Taconite employees and their families. So we're in this for the long haul, and we get it, and we're behind you 110%. We'll do what we can to help you out. Call, do whatever you need. Call my office, call my house, whatever you need. Actually, I'm gonna call my cell.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Drive safe, thank you.
Off the cuff.
Very good, thank you.
So me again, Mr. Chair, thank you. So we're just, I don't know if it's, Christmas is in the air, or excitement, but we've got another great presentation today from our Northern Lights Choir. They're going to perform for us, and then Mr. Sikora is going to talk about an upcoming trip that he would like to do to New York City. So Mr. Sikora?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on. Well, I've been here for 13 years and I've never had the kids sing at a school board meeting, so I thought it'd be a great time to do it since I had to present anyway. So why don't you guys go over there by the window. So these are members of the Northern Lights, are kind of our extracurricular choir that do the pop songs and do different things around the community, especially around the caroling time. We were at Mike's place during the parade, and we're going to Washington after this for their parade or their little party with Santa. So why don't the girls just go right in front of the guys there? There you go. Scoot on over. Why don't we quickly just introduce yourselves, say what your name is, first and last name, what grade you're in, so people can put a name to the face. Whatever.
I'm Jordan Fredette. I'm a junior.
I'm Tamara Gosser, I'm a junior.
I'm Annika Jivry, I'm a junior.
I'm Lila Ricola and I'm a senior.
I'm Matthew Barta, I'm a senior.
I'm Carter Bungard and I'm a senior.
I'm Peyton Taylor and I'm a senior.
I'm Vinny Marchetti and I'm a junior.
I'm Drew Aldrich and I'm a senior.
I'm Edric Cardona and I'm a junior.
So probably some names that you see in the paper or you might recognize from people in the building. So we're going to sing just a couple quick short carols for you, get you in the holiday spirit a little bit, and then I'll talk about our annual trip to New York. So here we come caroling.
Here we come a-caroling among the leaves so green. Here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to you glad Christmas too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year. We are not daily beggars that beg from door to door, but we are neighbors' children whom you have seen before. Love and joy come to you, and to you glad Christmas too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la.
I like to make them do songs with actions, especially for the little kids. So we'll do Jolly Old St. Nicholas with the actions. This is about half of the group. The others are at sporting events, practices, or some are a couple ill as well. But here's Jolly. All right, here, you put the folders down. There you go. Jolly.
Jolly old St. Nicholas, lean your ear this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon, now you dear old man. Whisper what you'll bring to me, tell me if you can. When the clock is striking 12, when I'm fast asleep, down the chimney brown and black, with your pack you'll creep. All the stockings you will find hanging in a row. Mine will be the shortest one, you'll be sure to know. Johnny wants a pair of skates, Susie wants a dolly, Nellie wants a storybook, she thinks dolls are folly. As for me, my little brain isn't very bright. Choose for me, dear Santa Claus, what you think is right.
One more. Joy to the world. Two verses. That sounds pretty good. Joy, two verses, and
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat the sounding joy, the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. Merry Christmas.
One comment quick. Yeah. I've been here for 28 years and I think this is a first for me too. Very nice.
oh, thank you. We'll make it a tradition from now on. Thanks, people. See you out in the hallway.
So that's about half the group?
That's about half the group. Yep, there's, like I said, a few of my practice, a couple going to practice now. There's 16 in the group normally.
So Mr. Sikora, just so the board's aware, so that's Northern Lights Choir.
Yep, that's an
Which is
extracurricular choir.
extracurricular choir.
Right.
You want to just talk quick about your other choirs so they understand kind of numbers in some of your other programs?
Sure. Well, I have 3 choirs throughout the day. I have a 9th grade choir, 10th grade girls choir, that's also some 11th and 12th graders, and the senior choir, the concert choir, which is 11th through 12th grade girls, and then 10th through 12th grade boys too, and that one's semi-audition, but coming out of COVID, you know, we take anybody who wants to sing right now, because it goes along with the social emotional learning that in some degree, for me, of the kids who want to be there. So coming out of COVID, the numbers are a little lower with participation, I think, just about anything, including choir and band and things like this. They're singing at the Washington tonight, or going to the library for their performance tomorrow with Santa Claus City Hall as well. You know, just being visible with the kids is an important part of our job, and having the concerts, ours is on the 19th, so 2 weeks away. Band was this week on Monday night. So I think you know, the music programs should be highlighted in every school district, and whether it's, you know, super awesome or maybe we have some struggles sometimes, we need to celebrate what the kids do just as much as we do their athletic teams. So, and I think Mr. Turner's been a great proponent of that with the activities, you know, not just sports but all activities across the board. But back for our kind of our yearly meeting and requesting approval eventually on the senior choir trip to New York. We switched when I came back 5 years ago from doing an all 10th through 12th grade trip to a senior only trip. So smaller amount of kids, more manageable. You can do more things with the smaller amount of kids. It's easier planning itineraries and travel arrangements. This year's trip is a little bit later than I would like to go, but everything was dictated by the price of the airline tickets. We had hoped to fly out of maybe Hibbing or Duluth, but the cost to fly out of those places is double what it was last year. And so right now we're planning, if approved, to fly out of Minneapolis on April 27th and come return on May 1st, so the students would miss 3 days of school, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And we would see 3 to 4 Broadway shows, have a Broadway singing and dancing workshop while there. See the historical sites including 9/11, Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and other things that are mentioned on the itinerary in the back. That is last year's itinerary. That's exactly what we did last year. The trip is being organized with JB Travel, which has done some travel with us in the past, including the band. They're based out of Virginia, but now also run an office out of Duluth. So they are carrying all the insurance and liability and everything with this trip. The kids and parents are listed on page 2 who have committed to the trip. And again, as the numbers have gone down a little bit, the numbers of kids participating in the trip goes down too. So I'm not sure if we want to maybe revisit how we do these things next year, but I think they're great opportunities for our students. Many schools travel, music groups and other types of groups. And I think this is an awesome opportunity for many kids to see live theater, live musical theater, and do some exciting things together their senior year.
This is last year's itinerary?
That is last year's itinerary.
So it'll change?
It'll change as far as,
Like Jersey Boys musical?
yeah, Jersey Boys is no longer on Broadway, so it'll change. I think Wicked is still there, and a couple of the others are too, but that's exactly what we ended up with last year, and the cost was $1,500, and I told the kids we will not go over that. You know, that's the breaking point, I think, for a lot of things. And they have time to fundraise it, or they have time to pay it, which most of them just paid over time. And the chaperones are volunteered, paying on their own as well to go. So any parent who requests to go along, I accommodate that and come and experience New York with your kid. It's a great time.
They perform, don't they, during this?
You know, occasionally we'll perform. You know, when we did our past trips where we would take 60, 70 kids, those were performance trips.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard because you're at the mercy of who decides to go on the trip too.
Yeah.
And who your students are. If the Northern Lights kids don't go, I'm losing a big core of my sound and my musicality. So this trip is more of a cultural musical trip where we do sing in a workshop with Broadway actors, and then we do some choreography with them as well, and then we go see that performer that night at the show, which is really cool. And last year, the person who worked with the kids, we were there for about 3 hours. He was a Minnesota kid, so he's from Lakeville, so that was neat that he was a kid from Minnesota on Broadway and worked with the kids. But I think they're great experiences. We just need to offer the kids many different things to do and see how many take advantage of these opportunities. So many of the kids have never been out of Minnesota or been on an airplane or see a professional show. We have tickets to Hamilton this year for kids to buy if they want to see Hamilton as well. And we saw Footloose in the fall. That was postponed because of last year. So we try to give the kids many opportunities to fully involve themselves in music, band or choir, or the theater part of it as well. And I really think it's an important part of educating these kids, not only in our building, but outside the building.
You think you'll go back to 10th through 12th?
I am thinking about that for next year, just because I feel like we need a rebound coming out of COVID here, and I maybe they'll excite some kids at a different level than we do just inside the class. I have talked a little bit about maybe next year making that a big trip again, turning it into a performing trip, and seeing if there's kids interested in that. But it's hard to gain some of their attention some days. The trips might do it for some, it might not do it for others. It's a mixed bag, of who goes on these trips. But I think the kids who are going are great kids. Many of them were in Northern Lights too. But it's a senior-only trip, which makes it, you can do a little bit different things. Ride the subway. Otherwise we'd have to get a bus and bus everywhere when we're in the city. Great. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good one.
Thank you.
And can I just say, Mr. Chair, and maybe Mr. Sikora remembers, and I'm sorry I don't remember. I think last time you came and presented, and then I believe at the following board meeting, we actually took action to approve the trip or not approve the trip. Is that correct? I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did, so they didn't have to wait for.
Okay.
Great.
So I will work on that for the next meeting. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Sikora.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. With that, we'll move to item 9, personnel, Superintendent Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A is a motion to approve the hiring of Peter Thean as ninth grade girls basketball coach effective November 21st, 2022.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B is a motion to approve the hiring of Amber Emerson as a 1.0 FTE school nurse district-wide effective January 3rd, 2023.
Support.
Moved by Director Egan, supported by Director Polter. Any discussion?
I'd just say, just quickly for the board, Ms. Emerson is here with us today. If just to put a face with a name, she's back here in the crowd also.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Are you going to be leaving the Lincoln in here full-time or back and forth?
We'll go.
Rotate?
So I
Okay.
will be going to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Am I up for item C? I apologize.
I can read it for you.
You
So,
better do it.
so we're not having a full-time nurse at the high school?
Yes, yes.
She said she's doing Lincoln too.
Well, so they're on a rotation. So currently we have 5 nurses in the district, including Mrs. Lindholm. Mrs. Lindholm, we accepted her intent to retire. She'll retire at the end of January. So as of January 3rd, yes, we will continue to have 5 nurses in the district. Amber and I are going to sit down with Deanne and plan out and make a decision about what we do with filling her position going forward at the Lincoln. We do have, as I've shared with the board, that we have some cuts that are most likely coming in the spring. And if there is a way to maintain nursing services in the district with 4 nurses and not have to lay somebody off in the spring, with not replacing her position, that's something that I want to look at. We haven't made any commitments to doing that yet, but the nursing need at the Early Learning Center that we anticipated hasn't been as high as we thought it was going to be. And we also, at the time when we placed that nurse at the Early Learning Center, we thought that we would be responsible for all of the Head Start students and their nursing needs. And they are under another set of rules. Our nurse, in emergency, of course, in an emergency situation, they would step in. But our nurses can't serve those kids. They have to serve within their own federal requirements and their own programs. So I just want to look at that with Amber once she kind of gets established in the new position and just to have a conversation. And all I'm trying to avoid is if we can potentially make a reduction without having to lay somebody off. I want to make sure that we look at that. But if we need 5 nurses, we're definitely going to fund it and move forward with 5.
Seems like one at each school is sufficient.
It is, and that's where we had been prior to this point, but the addition of the Early Learning Center kind of threw a hiccup in there. But I'm thinking that in some of the conversations that I've had with Deanne and some of the other nurses, that it might be pretty manageable for the nurse at the Washington to also serve those kids at the Early Learning Center. So we'll look at it.
Until the next pandemic, right?
Until, hopefully not.
I would think with the proximity of this, the senior high, the junior high in Washington, that if there is an emergency, it's not like you're a long way away. You're pretty close. So.
Yeah.
And our biggest need is, we have medication needs, we have medical services that our nurses provide to students that happen throughout the school day. So they're stretched. I mean, there's a lot of work for the nurse. It's not just putting Band-Aids on boo-boos, like we might remember in when we went to school. There's some pretty high need medical students that we have in the district that they help serve. So it's an important role, and I'm not downsizing that in any means. All I'm saying is if there's an opportunity to save some money rather than pink slipping an employee, I just want to look at it. So. I'm up again, correct? Okay, letter C. Item C, motion to accept the resignation of Amber Emerson from job number 13, school nurse, 30 hours per week, Lincoln Elementary, effective January 2nd, 2023.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Item D is a motion to accept the resignation for purposes of retirement from Susan Nelson, Theater Arts Reach Program, High School, effective January 20th, 2023.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Director Nyberg, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion?
Well, I think we should thank Sue for her years of service, and I don't know if she's here. So,
She's not.
you know, she served as union she was real active in the union, and she was president. And so she went, you know, she went above her responsibilities. So I want to thank her very much. Wish her the best of luck in her retirement.
We'll get a letter out to him.
Absolutely.
And the REACH program will continue on.
Yes, so the REACH, we actually have a couple of new instructors that are being trained in that role and will be ready for January to fill that need. The theater arts piece is a whole different conversation. That licensure is pretty rare to come by. And I know Mrs. Sikora is going to be making some recommendations too based on registration and enrollments about what we do going forward to meet those standards. It might be met in a different way through some of our FIED classes and some other programs. But Mrs. Sikora was also able to keep with Mrs. Nelson's retirement, she was able to redistribute those students into some other courses, and it's at a zero cost to the district, which I really want to give her and her team a lot of credit for, because the counselors, teachers that have been involved, that they reworked some schedules, reworked some duties, and so Mrs. Nelson's students will be taking courses with us, but it's not at an additional cost through overloads or through any new hires at this point. Is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
In other words, we won't be looking to replace her with another science teacher or anything like that.
I don't believe so. I think when Mrs. Warner retired, we were able to redistribute some of those classes and students where we didn't have to replace a science teacher. Who knows what will happen with registration? I mean, that's always kind of a...
Yeah, but now we don't have to replace another science teacher.
Correct, absolutely.
Okay.
Very good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. My turn, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrative reports, item 10, we'll go to item A, directors, anything? Hearing none, we'll go to item B, principals, assistant principals.
We did have Mrs. McDonald and Mr. Bestel that were set to be here today, but I rescheduled them just given all of our events that are happening this evening, just for the sake of time. So we don't have any principal reports today, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item C, committee reports. Hearing none, we'll move to item 11, administrative business. Now, Sir Alex, I don't know.
Nope, it's all me tonight, Mr. Chair. We didn't know if I made a commitment with Alex. We didn't know if technology would be glitchy or not, so he's off the hook tonight. Item 8 is a motion to approve policy number 530, school meals policy.
So, support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion?
I should just quickly give a little background here. So our school meals policy, we actually reviewed and adopted this policy, I believe in June, maybe July, sometime in the summer. Since then, Attorney General Keith Ellison, through some type of court case, it had become illegal to serve alternative meals to students that had negative balances in their lunch account. So what that would mean is if a kid came through the line, had a negative balance, they might have gotten a peanut butter sandwich or they might have gotten something alternative. To be honest, the Hibbing district hasn't done that for a couple of years. We weren't doing that as a practice. The students that were in a negative balance were getting the same meal as all of our other students. But MSBA, since that, it was 2 weeks ago, I think, that this kind of came as a surprise from the Attorney General's office. MSBA reworked this policy, pulled the alternative language out, and then directed schools to pass this change in a one read. So typically we do 3 reads, but this is kind of an emergency situation, so So we're following the law, but we were following the law prior to that ruling, which I think is important to note. But all this does is pull out that language about alternative meals.
Thank you.
There was a restaurant in town that was raising money to help our students that were in a negative balance. Has anyone said anything to you about that?
Yes.
Okay.
And that isn't anything that's school sponsored.
Right.
I mean, we
I knew
obviously,
that, yeah.
we obviously welcome donations from the community.
It was a gift, right?
I think some of it was based on some misconceptions. I mean, I think the intentions are genuine, and we certainly appreciate that. But we are not in a spot where we need the community to fundraise for
No.
our school meal bill. That's
Right.
not the case. Again, I mean, I would not want to turn away a donation. I mean, we really are appreciative of donations that happen from the community. But this is not a school-sponsored event, and it is not something that is necessary for us to make budget and make ends meet. We're doing just fine. School
Yeah, I was
meals.
kind of surprised to see it. It was nice intention, all what you said.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B is a motion to approve the World's Best Workforce Report, and we also have Mrs. Sikora that would be here to answer any questions if the board has any questions on that report.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Director McLaughlin, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion?
Yeah, Chair, I have a comment. Thank you for doing that. I've always been one, I really enjoy seeing community members added, so I appreciate the roster. And in case you're looking for any new members on this, I would like to volunteer Director Martin to be a member of this committee. I think she would be an excellent addition. So in case you're looking for anybody, I'm volunteering her.
And I'd accept the invitation.
She didn't know I was going to do that.
I did print out just at a glance, because sometimes the numbers and the lingo and the acronyms get to be a little confusing, and so that's why I printed this report, just one page for you so you can see that the world's best workforce is all about the 5 goals that the state requires of all students ready for school, all students in 3rd grade achieving at grade level literacy, closing the achievement gap between student groups, all students career and college ready, and all students graduate. And one of the biggest things I want the community to know is that our graduation rate in last year was 94.2%. That is just unheard of. It's really good, and we've gone up every year. From 2017 was 88% or something, and we've jumped up. So our new goal moving forward is 95%. So this is a really good testament to our school and our staff. And I want to echo what Kim McLaughlin said. There's 17 members on this committee, and they put a lot of time into it. We meet in this room in the fall a couple times, and then we come together and write the report. And so there are parents, teachers, administrators. So thank you to all of them. I tried to print this in color. Apparently I don't have access to or I have operator error and did it wrong. But I had all the goals met in blue and then partially met in green, and then we only had 2 goals that we didn't make. And so overall we've done a really good job. And then we have new goals, which I also included in an email to you earlier this week for the future. So do you have any questions or anything?
I just add one. I think it's important that the board knows and the community knows is that these are goals that we're setting for ourselves, correct? I mean, these are goals that the Hibbing, your team has decided this is what we want to reach for. So if we haven't met a goal, this isn't like, the state said we had to get to this point and we didn't do it. This is our own district
The
goal.
overarching is that the state is saying
Yeah.
all students ready, all
Yep.
students, and then our goals, we're focusing on proficiency and growth.
Yes.
So that's something that's new in the last couple of years, where we've implemented the STAR test, where it measures growth. And so if students are not at grade level, but they are gaining a huge amount, but still not where the other kids are or where the state says they're supposed to be. At least they're growing. And so that is what our focus is. And so our teachers have been trained in that growth model, and our high school staff got together and we had a data morning where 2 hours was just spent on intensive looking at individual student data and how we can get better. So it's a big project.
So if we set our own goals, say in the math one, the math one that we didn't meet, we wanted to be at 40%. Is that right?
So, I mean,
40%.
every
We'll increase from 33 to 40. We could have said we'll increase to 35, right?
Yes.
Which one are you-
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, which
so
one?
you set low goals, that math one that we didn't meet our goal.
Okay, so the state average for math, oh, I didn't include what the state was, but we weren't far beneath that state average. So we didn't meet the goal, but we were right underneath of it.
We didn't meet the goal we set,
Exactly.
but we were right under the state average with
Yes.
our result of 31.7.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's really low.
It all.
Well, the tests get harder
Yeah.
every year. The expectation is harder.
I like that we set our goal high, but
I think,
I don't-
you know, coming out of COVID,
yeah,
you know, you look at these numbers, these are fantastic.
well, yes.
I mean, you look at the average, what the state and what you hear and what you read about the average and what the
Yeah.
problems that the schools and students are having.
Yeah.
If we can maintain and achieve the goals that are presented here, our staff is doing a heck of a job.
I agree with you completely, but I look at this 31% and I go,
Right.
whoa.
I
It's
mean,
just- it sounds so bad.
It looks and it sounds terrible, but just to kind of put a little perspective to it, back in 1981, I was in kindergarten. And the expectation for me to graduate from kindergarten, I only did half day every day. It wasn't a requirement to the state. We didn't have to go to kindergarten. I had to write my name and tie my shoes and go to the bathroom by myself. And now I taught kindergarten for 6 years. Back in 2004 to 2009, I was a kindergarten teacher. And the standards increased to the kids had to be able to read full sentences. Kids have to have 100 sight words. Kids have to be able to count to 100. The standards have increased so much. So if that is just kindergarten achievement, 3rd grade is like the old 6th grade. And I taught 6th grade at one time too. And so 6th grade, when I taught that, it was like teaching 9th grade. The things that I was required to teach as a teacher, I learned when I was in 9th grade. So it is harder. I challenge any parent to take some of these tests and see how they do.
Well, we're trying to catch up to China,
Yes,
right?
and the STAR test,
Yeah.
the STAR test, what's really great about that test is it starts the kids and levels them. So you could be a 3rd grader taking the reading STAR test and score a college level reading. It takes you that high, so it gives a true indication of where students are at. Whereas the MCA, it's a benchmark that they feel all 3rd graders or all 7th graders should be, and doesn't measure higher or lower.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so maybe kind of just a rhetorical question, but as a school board, okay, I look at this, and there's a couple questions that kind of come to mind. When I look at that math one, for 7th and 8th graders, the first thing is there anything more we can do, like with transitional support from the Lincoln to the high school? Because over the years, we hear, like making that transition into the high school is really difficult for some students. So that was kind of my first question. And then I feel like at that point, students are changing buildings. So as far as like curriculum alignment and what they need to know in 7th and 8th grade, is there anything we need to do there? And you don't have to answer now, I mean, like, if you
No,
don't.
but I can speak to that a little bit. We have the PLCs in the early out days. There's a group, a PLC group committed to middle school philosophy and how we can change things within our building to really meet the needs of those 7th and 8th grade students especially. And the last 2 years, we've had targeted services, which we haven't had before, for 7th and 8th graders. So they get after-school homework help and enrichment in math and reading Monday and Tuesday. We started in October and it'll go through April. So kids have that now, and so that's a new intervention. And keep in mind too, that 33% or the 31%, that's a combination of 7th, 8th, and 11th grade scores. But if you peel away the onion and you see 7th grade, they actually did much better. And 11th grade, if we take them out and say they probably didn't care about the test, but they scored so well on their ACT, the 8th graders is where we kind of need to do a little more intervention. And that's what we did on the data day, looking deep, taking that deep data dive to look to see what does every individual kid need.
I think it's important to note that when students are at the Lincoln, 3rd grade math is pretty much 3rd grade math. 4th grade math is pretty much 4th grade math, and up until 6th grade. And then you hit that 7th grade, and now kids start to choose a path, right? You've got your pre-algebra kids, you've got your math 7 kids, and then that, from 7th grade, by the time they test again in 11th grade in the math MCA, that gap gets huge, right? I mean, you have kids that are in Calc, and you have kids that are in a consumer math class as 11th graders that just need a credit to graduate, right? So I mean, that it's not a fair comparison, because the 3rd grade tests are, you have kids that are pretty much getting all the same math instruction. That's not the case once they hit the high school, right? They start to specialize, right? The kids that are going to use math in a career moving forward, and maybe the kids that just need math to graduate. So, am I hitting that on the head there?
There definitely are.
Pressure you get?
Yeah.
I guess I'd just like to follow up. The number I really like to see, I mean, yes, you can say that we met this goal or we haven't met that goal. The number that really stands out is the fact that we're graduating 90-some% of our students from this school. I'd like to see what other schools could match that.
Right.
Thank you, Director Martin.
Last year at graduation, one of the student speakers gave accolades to the counselor that dragged them across the finish line.
Yeah.
Is that sort of action still continuing in the graduation?
Oh, absolutely. And I can't speak highly enough of our counselors who are diligently tracking attendance every week and checking their grades and meeting with kids and their families daily. And I get pulled into those meetings as well, but they are saying, here's what you need to do. They're giving them the pep talks and showing them the path. Here's your credit check. Here's what you need to do. Here's how we can find a way. So they really go above and beyond to. Yeah.
So then I'd like to go back to the bad onions of 8th grade math. What's the
bad day? It was a bad day for those 8th graders.
Is there any active intervention going on with that class who's going to become 11th graders?
So there's another PLC team that are working specifically with, it's an old term, but at risk, those students that, and now they want to say at promise, but the students who really have some needs. And so that's another committee that's working hard on that population of students.
How do our kids have to take algebra to graduate?
Algebra 2.
Algebra 2.
So
Why do we have kids going into welding? That's their future. Having to take algebra 2.
That's I'm glad you brought that up. So in I believe kids who graduated in 2015 or 16, it became a state mandate that every graduating senior had to have either chemistry or physics and algebra 2. And so,
but yet they're talking out of the other side of their mouth that they want to push career programs. The
yes.
hands-on
and we
technical
also,
career programs.
Hear education being dummied down. I hear that all the time.
Well, right.
Kids are, look at these scores, they're not doing well. But our seniors, these 94.2% that graduate, they are coming out of our high school with chemistry or physics and algebra 2 under their belt. That is hard stuff.
It is hard stuff, and I
it's-
don't think they should have to have that.
Well, that's
But
a legislative battle.
I can speak from personal
Yeah.
being a pipe fitter plumber for 40 years.
Yeah.
If you don't have algebra 2, you're not gonna be a good welder.
Are you kidding?
What you have to have in math
Okay.
to figure out the angle and the weld and everything else that has to be done is, you're better off to have that class. And it'll really
Really?
help you in the long run.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Just the
physics
critical
will
thinking
too.
aspect of it is
I suppose.
it's problem solving.
Well, someone decided smarter than me.
Chemistry and physics makes the math make sense. But
Chemistry what?
chemistry and physics makes the math make sense, but that's coming from a science teacher.
And the physics of the welding angle puts it all together too.
And the kids that are graduating high school that become welders or go to work in mines don't necessarily stay there, because I'm speaking from experience. I was at Hard Rock Miner for 5 or 6 years and went back to college
Yeah,
and didn't do algebra in high school.
yeah,
And, you know, I was in bonehead math and went to college
yeah, right.
because I didn't have it.
And I
Yeah.
was 39 years in engineering and and I use that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Physics, algebra too. I had that way back in 9th grade, I had language, 8th grade, it accelerated, that helped all through my life.
Well, of course, if you're gonna be an engineer, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that was just part of my
But-
education.
What Hibbing provides is a well-rounded education, because we do have, what we have that other people don't have around us is the facts, you know, the old home ec classes. That is amazing. We have the
Yep.
independent life skills, so they get financial literacy, credit scores, how to clean your house, do laundry, you know, all of that kind of stuff, and cooking. And we do have the welding, the woods, building construction. So we do
But
besides.
that independent living's not required. That's an elective, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, every kid should have to take.
Well, if you do that, then every teacher is going to say, my thing is the most important.
Well, we all
It's
know
like-
that independent living is the most important. Right? Okay, and one last question, going back to what Kim was saying. Is our 6th grade math, are those teachers working with our 7th grade math teachers?
Yeah,
To
so
align the curriculum?
That's another thing that we try and do every spring, is have some, they call it vertical teaming, where they
Okay.
get the teachers together in that subject area and look to see what their kids are learning, what they're moving on to, so that it all matches up.
Okay, once a year they meet to make sure of that? or
At
whatever?
least once a year. And then we do transition meetings for the 7th graders, not only for like their social emotional needs, but their grades, if they should be in any honors classes, that kind of thing as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then I got one
Good
more
discussion.
question. So one of the goals is close the achievement gap between student groups. What are the student groups?
So in this, that was one of my anticipated questions as well, and I had to call Bob Bestel on this, because this report goes from last year's data, and last year, the year before, it was COVID, so there was nothing, no student groups to compare. So we picked math as just something compared to the state that we really need to improve upon. So we're not, and we don't have student groups large enough, like we don't have a free and reduced lunch population large enough to compare, or a student group of students of color that huge districts can identify. Does that answer?
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried, thank you.
And I wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Sikora, her entire team, for all their hard work. This is a big project to get this done, and you did a fantastic job. So please pass the word on to everybody that was a part of that. I know it was a big group, so thank you. Item C is a motion to approve the facility use agreement with the City of Hibbing for the period of August 1, 2022 through July 31st, 2023.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Martin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was reading it, and I think it said athletic director, and isn't our person actually called activities director?
Good catch. Yes. Yes,
And
yes, he
also-
is.
And it said him, and I think it should say him/her.
Absolutely. I will address that. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's in the city's language, I think it was.
Okay.
Just put it there as the person.
Yes.
What?
The person.
That person.
I'll cover it. All in favor, say aye.
And they're
Pose same
non-specific.
sign. Motion carried. With that, we'll move to Item 12, discussion items, I'll turn that over to Superintendent Rick.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recognize our board member, Director Marge Martin, for, she has completed 100 points and received a 2023 Director's Award from the Minnesota School Boards Association for successfully earning 100 points from MSBA-sponsored sessions to improve individual performance. So what this is when Director Martin says, you know, I watched this great webinar from MSBA, and when she said over the last few months, that's what she's talking about, all the time that she's been putting in outside of our board meetings to do this work. So thank you, and I think we should give you a round of applause for your great work.
And I'd just like to say that it's really been an honor and a privilege to serve on this board. I've enjoyed working with all of you and Superintendent Aldrich and our business manager Alex and everyone, all the people in the district. I've learned a lot, and when I think about the 4 years, we've made some pretty hard decisions. I think we've come together as a board and made some really good decisions. And I'm looking forward to watching the good things happen in this district, because I think it's just got a lot of potential that's going to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for everything you've done. With that, Director Polter,
I'll move to adjourn.
without objection, it's 5:02 and a half. Meeting's adjourned, and thank everybody for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.